Basically we're going to have a look at some of my jewellery. So hello Jane, hello Lynn. Most of you know that we run a dancing business and that has completely shut down because of COVID. We did manage to restart, and then second lockdown happened, so hopefully we'll come back in December. But about May time I started up this Lib and Leo jewellery. I started making jewellery way back in middle school with my friend. We used to go to all of the school fairs and sell them, and then sell them with Christmas cards. We used to make these little things called beadlings. So it's kind of stemmed from that. That's where I came to it. I actually started Lib and Leo jewellery by doing beaded creations, and then I thought, oh, it'd be really nice to incorporate some sea glass into it. Started doing a little bit of research, and it just kind of formed into this, doing some silversmithing. So this is where I work now, in the corner of our living room. I'm just going to quickly show you. So this is my little setup, and I've only just moved onto this little bench today. So we've custom made this little bench to fit in the corner of our living room. But before, all I was working on was this white fireproof mat in the kitchen. So it's a fantastic space that I've got now that I can actually set up and make things properly. Oh, I'm just try and get you balanced again. So I thought I'd just quickly show you some of the tools, and then I'll show you some of the pieces that I've made recently, and then I'm going to draw the winner of the giveaway. So there's been a giveaway on Instagram and Facebook, and you guys have been sharing it for a chance to win a piece of custom made jewellery. So like I said, I work on this heat proof mat because one of the main things that you have to do is solder. So I use this, which is the solder that I use, and it's actually fluid, so you push it out and it's kind of a paste. Some people use solder that's solid, and you can cut down into little pallions, and then obviously you need to melt the solder. So you use a butane torch. So I've got this one, and it can do just a little teeny flame, or it can do a big flame depending on what temperature you need to get your silver to. And once you've soldered your metal together, you have to shape it into whatever you want. So for rings, you'd use something like this. Now you'd normally use a steel one so that you can hammer your ring into the correct shape, but this one has all the ring sizes on it. So when you're trying to make your ring a particular size for somebody, maybe a custom piece, you can get it to a correct size so people can measure their fingers and tell you what size they are. And then after you've soldered your ring together, you have to spend quite a lot of time filing it down, because you might get little bumps and ridges where the solder sometimes kind of bubbles and flows in a funny way. So just loads of different files: flat ones, triangular ones, big ones, small ones, pointy ones, triangular ones, circular ones, to get in all the different nooks and crannies, because a simple ring is quite easy to file down, but once you get onto more complicated shapes, it gets a little bit trickier to kind of get into all the nooks and crannies to get a nice smooth finish on your piece. And then anything that's got sea glass in it, you make the bit around the outside. So for instance, this piece, the silver bit around the outside is called the bezel, and this is called a bezel rocker. So obviously you strip around the outside, and then you have to use this to kind of rock over the edge to keep the stone in place. So none of the pieces are actually use any glue. It's all just held in place by bending metal to hold the stone, or to hold the sea glass in my case. And then a million things like hammers, lots of different types of hammers, flat hammers to flatten pieces. This end's called a ball peen, and that's what gives you texture on pieces. So like today, I've just started hammering, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see, or you can just see, just started hammering this piece of copper out, and it gives that kind of texture on it. And then there's like, I've got a whole pot of various different hammers with interchangeable heads. They've all got slightly different jobs. I didn't realise how many hammers you'd actually need to do some silversmithing. And then probably one of the things that gets most used most is these really handy tweezers. So these are called either cross action or third hand, and the idea is that you can open them and then let go, and it will hold the piece for you. So if I was trying to solder, this is just a piece of wood, but if I was trying to solder this, I could put it in there, hold the wooden bits, and then solder it without having to burn my fingers, which I've done a lot of, learning how to solder and learning how to silversmith. And then just showing you my can of delights over here. Like, there's just loads of different types of pliers that you use. like flush cutters, ones with bent tips, one with round tips, one with flat tips. Again, like you can go into a whole different world of pliers. Yeah, lots of different types of cross action. Sorry, my thing is really wobbly. I can't get you balanced. There we go. And then there's this stuff, which is called pickle. And this is where after you've soldered things, so this is just a mixture of vinegar, but you can buy proper pickle, which is, I think it's normally citric acid based, but you put your pieces in here after soldering, and it helps remove all of the fire scale, all of the kind of blackened stuff that you end up with after you've soldered. So sometimes you need to flux the piece, which stops that fire scale building up, but if it does, you can pop it in the pickle. And this is flux. So I'm really lucky because my solder paste has flux already in it, but if you're using hard solder like Palion solder, then you can flux your piece with this stuff. You just kind of paint it on with a paintbrush, and it stops your piece getting quite so charred, and it protects it a bit more. And then kind of after you've done that, after you've soldered it and pickled it, the next step, which for me is really exciting, but like in the real world it's not quite as exciting, is because I've just got one, you put it in a barrel roller. So this lid comes with a barrel, and you just put your jewellery in it and it spins round and round, but you get all of this lovely stuff called shot, which is basically just loads and loads of different shaped stainless steel pieces, and it tumbles it around a bit like it's a rock tumbler essentially, but it's really cool, it's really good fun, and it sounds like maracas constantly in your house, which is also another plus. So you pop it in here and this polishes it off, gives it a really nice sheen, and then you can get to other polishing. So I only got the barrel polisher yesterday, and it's amazing. So I think I put 5 pieces in there and tumbled it for 15 minutes, and they came out so sparkly. Whereas you can also polish by hand with like a million different grades of sandpaper. I think my finest sandpaper is something like 30 million. No, 1 million, I can't remember. But this stuff, like my finest sandpaper is essentially just like a piece of fabric, but you work your way through all of the grades of sandpaper to get a really nice smooth finish. And then just like other things that I have on my desk, unfortunately mine broke, but this is a charcoal block for soldering on, which just helps with the heat distribution of your piece. And bits of stone just to help protect from fire. I have this, which is unfortunately all of my pieces which haven't quite worked. My kind of ones that were accidents, they go in there and they'll be melted back down to form other things, hopefully one day. So that's kind of how my setup is at home. It's lovely now being on this big desk. I also have a little section in the corner with all of my packaging stuff. So I've got loads of bubble wrap and the little cards that I send out. Well, let me just grab one. They're actually up here. So when you get an order, you get like a little special thank you card, and I write some notes on the back for you about where your sea glass is from and all that kind of stuff. And I've got loads of I've actually got a whole ton of chocolate coins in the corner ready to send out in December. So if you order in December, you're going to get a load of chocolate coins in your parcel as well. But then anyway, onto the sea glass. So I'm gonna start with rings. So I'm actually just going to take all my rings off just so they don't get distracting. So for some silver only rings, these are some pieces that I've actually made this week that have come out in the tumbler super shiny. Ivan, you still trying to put Leo to bed? So this is a little wrapped one. This week I've just tried to play a little bit with the idea of, if you were going to buy a ring for Christmas, a Christmas present, then you're probably not going to be able to find out their ring size unless you're very blatant about it. So I've started making some of these kind of wrap rings, which are set to a vague size. So this one is about between an N and an O UK size, but obviously you can bend it open or bend it shut slightly depending what finger or who's going to wear it. And I'm not sure if you can see it because I'm probably not going to be able to make it focus, but that one's got like a hammered texture on it, so it's not completely smooth. And then today, I think I'm actually going to end up keeping this one. I've made this lovely little chevron ring. So it's just a ring with a little triangle bent into it. And then this is another one which it's really bad silversmithing because you make stuff and then it's really hard to put it on your Etsy shop. You just want to keep it all. But this is another one. And again, I'm not sure if you can see it actually, but it's got 3 little kind of blobs on it, which have also got that hammered texture. And these 3 little blobs are bits of melted down silver from my mistakes bin. Just on a really simple, and this is all silver, so it's all sterling silver, which is silver 925 you might see it as, and that just basically means that it's 92.5% silver and 7.5% other things, which is normally copper. You can get fine silver 999, which means it's 99.9% silver and 0.1% other things, normally copper. And then some sea glassy rings. So this is one I made quite a while ago. So this is like a teeny tiny micro piece of, I can't remember the name of this type of blue. Cornflower blue is what they call it. And that's on a square band. But that's probably about the smallest you can go. Once you start bezeling smaller things than this, it becomes really, really tricky to bend it round corners. And then I've also made this. This is also one of my recent favourites. So this is another blue ring, bright blue, so we call that cobalt blue, like that, and it's really cool. This one was obviously maybe something decorative because it's still got the lines, the ridges in it. And then I had a bit of a play, and this was a piece of sea pottery that I found, and I just thought it was really pretty, so I've made it into this ring, and I've added this little ball on the end, which technical term is granulation. Yeah, it's a good point, Ross, actually. I'm going to have to... We've actually... You probably can't quite see. We've actually unhooked the last curtain hook so that I can move the curtains all the way back there to get the light. But I might have to do that when I'm soldering as well, so that I don't set curtains alight. But yeah, so that's just a piece of sea pottery with a little bit of added granulation just for fun. And then this is one of the more complicated bands that I've made. So I'm not sure, again, if you'll be able to see it, but it's 2 bands. And in the middle is a beaded section, and that again is like this lovely, call it this colour, sea foam piece of sea glass. And pretty much all of this sea glass was found by me around the Bantham area of South Devon. The odd bit might have been found somewhere else. And then these 2 rings were what I was talking about earlier with those spirals. So these 2 rings, sea glass rings, would be able to kind of fit anyone. Oh, I'm really sorry. So you'd be able to adjust them. They're kind of set to a size, but obviously you can just bend them open. So I've made these 2 today. One's got a hammered texture band, and one's got a perfectly smooth band, and one's this lovely kind of pale blue colour, and one is just a standard clear white piece on there. And then moving on to necklaces, you can get so many different types of necklaces, so I won't bore you with loads of different types. But so this section up here is called the bail of the necklace. Oh, sorry. And it's essentially the bit that connects the pendant onto your chain. So there's so many different types of bail you can make. So this one's got that beaded wire again, those kind of little balls all joined together. So that's a nice green piece. This one's got a slightly fatter bail on it. So the chain, whichever chain you chose, would go through there. And this is a really cool piece of sea glass. I hope you can see that kind of cross of wire in the middle. So this would have been a piece of safety sea glass. So imagine like the toughened glass that you get in safety doors, that kind of thing. That's what this would have been from. And it's actually really, really common on the beaches that I go to. I find quite a lot of safety glass. So I wonder if, I don't know, someone's been a bit naughty and thrown a load of glass into the sea. Ross, I am going to plan to do a bit of gold, but I looked on the website actually when I did my last order. So this is a piece of silver wire that I use really regularly. Like this is the gauge that I make to make earring hooks and stuff like that. And I think it was 5 centimetres of this gauge of wire, but in gold was something like £14. And it is just so much more expensive. And like the tubes of solder that you need for gold, this was a 15 mil, and this cost something like £17 or £18 for this 15 mils of silver solder. But for 3 mil of gold solder, it's twice the cost. Like, I will branch out into gold at some point. It's just so much more expensive. I just want to get a bit more experience before I potentially mess up a very, very expensive ring or necklace. And then this is another bail that I just had a play around with. So that would sit a bit like a bar. Your chain would go in and wiggle out again. So that would sit horizontally on your neck. And then I do also have a little play around with some silver only necklaces. So that's just a really simple hoop necklace, and I've added those granulations on around the side like that. Quite nice, kind of reminds me of summer and the sun. And then very quickly, just some earrings. So these are ones that I also made. What day are we on? Maybe I made these at the weekend. These were quite new. But these are just little studs. So all sterling silver, and they've got that hammer texture on them again. Just little butterfly backs. So they're quite simple studs. And then sea glass studs. So that's 2 tiny pieces of, like in daylight, it's this kind of orangey, yellowy brown, like mainly orange, but they're really pretty, and I really like the fact that they're slightly mismatched. Sisters not twins is what I go with earrings. So that's those. These are my fixed earrings. These are probably one of my best sellers. So this is like a kind of pale greeny blue pair of fixed earrings. So no dangle, you just pop them through your ear and they're fixed. So that's fixed earrings. That's probably one of my best sellers. And the other bestseller I have are what I call double drops. So another set of earrings. So this is a pair I've made recently. So 2 pieces of sea glass. This is actually like in daylight, not at night time with my living room light. This is pale blue, and then like these lovely teal pieces at the bottom. And then, so I've basically recently made some of these to a particular length, so you can choose the length. And I could even make triple drops. I might do that one day soon. So that's kind of the jewellery side of it. That's how I work. I generally work here while the kids are kind of playing in the living room, which is just over there. If you'd like a piece specially made, either for yourself or for Christmas, please just get in touch. I have got so much sea glass. Let me show you quickly. So you could give me a rough idea of the colour you want. So this is my first bag of greens. So I have 2.5 bags of green colours like this, and this is just some of the sea glass I have that you could potentially choose from. You know, here's a bag of more clear white pieces that I've got, and a bag of bluey tones. Yeah, there's some really nice pieces of tealy kind of colours in there. So I have got a lot of sea glass that you could choose from if you wanted to make a commission for a sea glass piece. And I can just send you like lines or pairs that I think kind of match, and then you can say, oh, I'd like that pair with this and that kind of thing. So if you would like a commission either for yourself or for Christmas, please get in touch. I'm really aware that people might leave it last minute, but this isn't really the kind of thing that you can squeeze loads into in a week. It's much better to kind of to spread it out, so to avoid a big rush at Christmas. That's what I'd kind of like, is to spread it out, maybe get a few done now. I'm aiming for kind of like 1 or 2 a week, alongside just like the general stock that I make that I upload to Etsy. Yeah, I am a sea glass magpie. I find it really therapeutic going to the beach, and I drink a coffee on the way to the beach, and then I just walk up and down the beach, and I probably look a bit crazy because I kind of half squat and waddle along the beach looking for sea glass, but hey, it makes me happy. Lynn, I don't file any of the sea glass. I don't shape any of the sea glass. So some people have, well, I've got a drill. Some people would have like diamond bits on the end where you could drill either through the sea glass to make a hole, or you could drill it into a particular shape. But I also quite like, I like using the natural form. I like the idea of keeping it as the sea's made it, rather than, because essentially you could end up with a piece like this and then just form that into whatever shape you want. But I like the fact that this piece, which is kind of something that's gone wrong, so I shouldn't probably be showing you this, but I like the fact that this is the shape that the sea has made it and that nature's made it, and then I use that shape. So I wouldn't shape sea glass unless someone was really into it, like really wanted me to do that. That's not something that I would go off and do myself. So thank you very much for watching. Yeah, it's that mad lady on the beach. It really is. There's a couple of other people on my favourite beach that also look for sea glass, and you can spot sea glass pickers from a mile off because they're just like half bent over with little bags, and they just look a bit crazy. And this is just 2 pieces that I've also kind of half finished today, so I might actually keep this one. I've decided to make a few necklaces with just some slightly smaller, kind of daintier pieces of sea glass. So that's like a nice little tealy piece, and then one other piece. It's almost like really pale lime green kind of colour. I just thought it might be nice because I get a bit drawn into the really big chunky pieces, but I realise that some people might like something a little bit smaller. So thank you very much for watching. The last thing that I'm going to do in here are all the names of the people that have entered the giveaway. So if you win the giveaway, then I can custom make something for you. I can make it for you, or if you want to make it for somebody else as a Christmas present, I'll get in touch afterwards. Let's have a look. Are you ready? Do. And it is. Let's have a look. Ooh, Vicky Gold. So, Gould. I'm not quite sure how to say your surname. So Vicky's a dancer from East. She was on my teacher's audition. So when I went to Sorok HQ to audition to become a teacher, Vicky was also there. So congratulations, Vicky. I will get in touch with you in the next day or so, and we can work out what commissioned piece you'd like. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all safe. Thank you very much. Goodbye.